Hi everyone, my name is Johan and I'm a senior cloud developer advocate working at Microsoft. In this video, we'll see how you can create a functions API in your Azure Static Web app. First, what's Azure Static Web Apps? It's a service that provides globally distributed static website hosting that's deployed from a single GitHub repository with a CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Actions. And among other nice features that it provides, you can easily add a serverless API to your website with functions. We'll start by creating a new app and deploy it to static web apps. For that, you'll need a GitHub and an Azure account. Both are free to create. Look at the links in the video description if you need to create one. Now, let's open this URL. So we can create a new repository from this template. So enter a repo name. For this example, I'll put my static web apps API, make it public, and then select create repository from template. When your new repository has been created, we'll clone it locally. We copy the repo URL here, then go back to the terminal. Type git clone, pass the URL, wait a bit, and now we can open this project in VS Code. So what we'll do first is install the Azure Static Web Apps extensions. And then we'll deploy this app. In the Extensions tab, search for Static Web Apps and install this extension. Now open the command palette with F1 and type Azure Sign-in. It will move you to the browser, prompt you to enter your credentials, and then, okay, we are logged in. Now going back to VS Code, if you look at this project, it's a bit unusual as it contains the same client web app, but built with different frameworks. You can see that there's Angular, Vue, React, and Svelte apps. I pick React for this example, but you can choose whatever that's more familiar to you. Now, open the command palette again with F1 and search for Create Static Web App. Type a name for your app. I'll put for mine my Static Web App API. Select Custom for the build preset, as our repo, as I explained before, has a bit of unusual structure. For the location of your code, you select manually enter location, then type in React App. If you choose to deploy a different version of the application with a different framework, just use whatever is suitable for you. For the API, choose Skip for now, as we'll see that later. And now we need to know the location of the build output. So build is fine for a React app, but it may be a bit different depending on the framework you've chosen. And finally, select a location near where you live. As for me, I'll choose West Europe. Then it will create the app, and once the app is created, you'll see this notification. Select Open Actions in GitHub, and it will take you to the GitHub workflow pages. The deployment will take a few minutes from now, so in the meantime, we'll take a look at what the GitHub's Actions workflow looks like. That was created by the VS Code extensions. You can see directly in GitHub the logs for all the steps that are being executed. That may be really helpful if anything goes wrong at any point. After the workflow is finished, you can go back to VS Code and open the Azure tab. In the Static Web Apps sections, right-click on My SWA API and choose Browse Site. It will open the website in the browser, and now we have our static web app. But as you can see, it's stuck on this loading message. That's because there's no API yet. So now we'll focus on creating this API. First, let's pull the changes by clicking on the refresh icon in the status bar to bring in the workflow file that was created. Now it's time to create the missing API. Rename the folder API starter into API. This folder contains the function projects that will get deployed alongside your static web app. Now we need to create a new function. open the command palette again with F1 and type in Azure Functions create functions. Choose HTTP trigger. For the function's name, type products-get and choose anonymous for the authorization level. Now, instead of this hello world boilerplate function that we have here, I'll just copy-paste this function code. What it does is get the list of products that could come from a database and return it. Otherwise, just return an error. For now, if we look inside the data, the product data is just a plain JavaScript object. You may change that later to plug in into a database, but that will do for this example. Now open the file functions.json. This file contains all our functions settings. So in there, as we want to implement a get function, we don't need that post here in the methods list. And we'll add a new parameter that's called root with the URL products. That's where we want to be able to call these functions. Now it's time to commit everything that we did and push our changes to GitHub. If we look at the GitHub workflow, you can see that by default it finds an API folder, and that's what will be used during the deployment. Now let's go back to our GitHub Action tab there, and you can see that because we pushed new code, a new deployment workflow has started. When the workflow is finished, let's take a look at our website again. Just a small trick, right from within the logs, you can scroll down here in the build sections, and you can find the URL for your website in case you just forgot it or if you don't have VS Code at hand. And there we have the list of products displayed. And that's it! You've now seen all the basics to create your own full-stack serverless web apps. You can find every link I've used in this video in the description below, and if you want to learn more about static web apps and API, take a look at the Learn tutorial that's linked there. See ya!